Here is a photograph, according to Isaac, who I was able to communicate with privately from his public document. When this generator is in a certain field, and that is the key. It is also what John Burroughs and I have been talking about in Phenomenon Radio for the last 2.5 months. We've been exposed now, the UK and the US, they refer to it as a unidentified aerial phenomena, non-ionizing radiation that can manipulate human minds and damage human tissues. That field, all of these symbols on these I-beams, everything, they become self-activating software. Imagine that I could pick up this piece of paper. It is embedded with the software diagram that I was showing you. It's built into the fabric. Everything is built in. There are no moving parts. They said these are solid. First, they thought they had solid glass. And the more they work with it, they realize that they are dealing with programming down to the molecular level, and that it is like you would have substance, the way you can take a hologram and you can keep coming right down to the tiniest part and still be able to project the whole, that all of the substance in which the alien self-activating software works is also constructed the way we would think of a hologram, meaning the tiniest piece still has the infinite software. They don't need the prime intelligence that has done this. This is a technology that could be going through solar systems. Here, it knows how to operate and keep operating, perhaps forever. And the key, right now, these are suspended. They learned that when they put this in a certain frequency, and the scientists working on this, they began to see there were certain orientations. These I-beams would fly into these positions, stay stock still as if they were solid, like titanium in here, but it's air, because of the relationship between the generating self-activating software that is in relationship to these I-beams. And he stressed, this is how they construct their craft. And here is a very similar pattern in a crop formation. This is barley at Windmill Hill. And then there is this extraordinary pattern that was in 2008, Barbary Castle. The astronomer, Mike Reed, worked with me on this one. He discovered that he started here looking at this and looking at this arc, and it hit him as a man who made telescopes his entire life. 25 years he made telescopes, worked with pi out to 6 decimal points every day. Pi is the Greek symbol for the ratio of any circle's circumference to its diameter, and it can go on infinitely, never repeating because it's an irrational number. And this, it was Mike Reed sent this to me in a state of shock. Linda, I started looking at that little dot. I was thinking of it as a decimal point. And he said, I saw that there was a 90-degree arc here in the barley, and it made me think of measurements. And he said, I measured this, I divided this crop formation by 10, and look what happened. Here's the dot and the one where I started. Here is the 90-degree in where it appears to begin. 1, 2, 3. Dot. 1. 90-degree. 1, 2, 3, 4. 90 degree, 1. 90 degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can continue doing this. He said, as an astronomer, the idea that there could be pi out to 9 decimal points on a horizontal in barley so precisely just stunned him, and that all of this relates to, this is what we were looking at. Look, here's the 90-degree ratchet being used. Here are all of the self-activating symbols. Here is barley. None of us had had any notion of any of this until Mike Reed, a telescope maker, put these two together. Isaac said, but there, the ET technology is different. It really did operate like the magical piece of paper sitting on a table. And that's what I was saying. If you had a piece of paper and it was embedded, I could think it. The paper would go off into the world completely by itself, go wherever it needed to go, to whoever it needed to go to, get whatever information it was needed. The paper would come back. It could go up floors, it could go across countries, it could go to another solar system. The paper embedded with alien self-activating technology on certain missions could act forever independently. They had something akin to a language that could quite literally execute itself, at least in the presence of a very specific type of field, and that is the part that's still secret. The language is a system of symbols along with geometric forms and patterns that fit together to form diagrams that are themselves functional. Once they are drawn on a suitable surface made of suitable material, and in the presence of a certain type of field, they immediately begin performing the desired tasks, and it really did seem like magic to us. I worked with these symbols more than anything during my time at the Palo Alto Carrot Lab and recognized them the moment I saw them in the Dragonfly drone photos. Word was that the extraterrestrials could design these diagrams as quickly and easily as a human programmer could write a Fortran program. And it is humbling to think that even a network of supercomputers was not able to duplicate what ETs could do in their own heads, close quote. Even this July 17, 1991 wheat pattern in barley, this is 17 years before, and here is that ratchet. This is the pattern that Gerald Hawkins, the author of Stonehenge Decoded, a British astronomer, said had 5 geometry theories that did not exist anywhere on the planet in geometry until this showed up. And we had no idea that 17 years later, an astronomer would be tying this pattern to a ratchet that is found in what a man has provided as alien self-activating software. Could crop formations around the world since at least the 1970s have been functioning as self-activating software, placed each year in some chronological geographical relationship like the carrot diagrams? But in order to do what? It was astronomer and mathematician Gerald Hawkins, author of Stonehenge Decoded, who said, after studying the Barbary Castle and other formations, I find an intellectual profile that is unique and profoundly mathematical. By 1995, German researcher Wolfgang Schindler had made black and white diagrams of all the crop formations he knew about since 1990. He wrote in the spring 1995 edition of the Circular, quote, each pictogram contained at least one element that was not there in another pictogram, and other elements changed their positions from pictogram to pictogram, close quote. Well, Isaac said,